everybody. Karen, if you get us started with land development?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. It's always a good reminder. I was actually just reading a little moment ago about how that St. Paul Street was originally known as the Iroquois Trail. But for thousands of years before that, people walked on that trail for gatherings, to go and meet folks, to go home, to go out for gather hunting and fishing and trapping and gathering berries and other delectables, and lived on the land in harmony. And those people were the Adirondacks, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Anishinaabeg. And it behooves us to take a page out of their book and to learn to live in harmony with one another, with the land, and with people. We always, in tradition, acknowledge the land itself, the Mother Earth that keeps us whole, keeps us healthy, gives us air to breathe, and wonderful earth to plant our feet in, and to root and grow together. That's it.
Thank you. Do I have any declarations of interest? None? Perfect. Good. First off, a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Okay, first, who do I have a second? And the approval of previous minutes. Oh, sorry, any opposed? And the approval of previous minutes. You first. You first.
I'm gonna do Amy as a second, because I don't think you were here. Yes, I was. You were? Yeah. Oh, the one in that room, okay? I was here. It was in the other room. Oh, okay. So no, sorry. So then, no.
Differently.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody who's here, please. All right, David. Karen. All right, we're gonna start with some presentations. First off, we have Central Walton Street Initiative. Here it's Director of Positive Living and Carolyn Dyer. Yeah, whatever's most comfortable to do.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. You're probably pretty good at this presentation. I don't do this presentation. I don't think it's taken a lot. Give me a maybe. Maybe I could. I don't think it's taken a lot.
Jen and Milan, only because they're very, very tiny from perspective. If you have hands up for a while and say don't acknowledge you, just look off for a second. It's very small.
We'll try and watch too.
And so that's ones.
Okay, good.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn Dyer. I'm the Executive Director of Reach Niagara, and we are a collaborator on Welcoming Streets.
And I am Talia Storm, Director of Streetwork Services at House of Living Niagara.
About please,
Robin bowed when she got here.
So a little bit about Welcoming Streets. I think folks may have heard about it inadvertently. So we've seen a lot of other communities who've implemented this model. And as I say, you see a real mix, right? From rural communities against some of more of your inner city pieces. And it's really, you know, Talia and I have had a chance to chat with a lot of these different Welcoming Streets program, a really great opportunity for community engagement. Really focus on dedicated neighborhoods. That's the whole purpose, is to focus on your neighborhoods. We kind of build that engagement centralized to that neighborhood because it can look very different depending on the neighborhood need. And really building that relationships with business owners. You know, business owners are in the thick of it and dealing with community members. And that's a real unique piece of this model, is to work collaboratively with businesses to respond to certain needs. The overall goals of the model, you know, when we talk to other Welcoming Streets kind of programs, is diverting non-emergency calls to first responders, right? Because sometimes I feel like the only answer is to call 911 because truthfully, we may not know what else to do in that moment. Really to mitigate some of the tensions between downtown patrons and really focusing on some of that relationships and situation management. So better understanding people and the situations they may be experiencing. Can we stand that slide, please? Yes. A focus, because we do see, this is not unique to Niagara. I think a lot of communities are experiencing this focus on unhoused individuals. And seeing that congregation in the downtown and really trying to build a connection to services. You know, in St. Catharines, we are very fortunate where we do actually have a lot of community partners and agencies that are walkable to the downtown core to be able to better help people. And with that broader education, and communication, knowing that there is, quite a stigma and stereotype and perception sometimes, where a big piece of this program that we've learned from others is it's helped educate the community at large. Next slide.
I think this is really helpful because Rachel has done a really good job of bringing everyone's concerns forward at various committee meetings. And so we've been hearing time and time again about some of the challenges that businesses are experiencing downtown. And then through the nature of our work, we're hearing about our community members and some of the challenges. And so how can we kind of work together to support each other? Okay. So this program, one key piece is that it's proactive, all right? We're trying to avoid issues before they escalate. I think historically we're in a nature of reaction, right? Responding to issues as they arise, but we're trying to prevent some pieces as we go. So again, that collaboration piece is really important. A big component of this project is involvement of folks with lived and living experience, so peers. So folks who have lived experience of homelessness, substance use, mental health, either current or past, because we can really leverage their experiences and their expertise at helping to shift some perceptions within the community, particularly when it comes to, folks who may be congregating downtown. So this is a pilot project. So we are only funded right now through the end of this calendar year. Funding is coming through the region. And Carolyn and I will go back to council in November to present all of the wonderful things that are going to happen. So we're quite optimistic. Again, because we've had the opportunity to learn from so many programs, it's nice to not be reinventing the wheel on our own. So our focus is the downtown core. That will very naturally bleed into the Queenston neighborhood, as that's where so many of the supports and services are. A key component of this work will be our block leaders and our staff bringing people to those services that might be relevant to them in order to support their well-being. Hours of operation are Monday to Friday, starting at 7:30. So the hours of operation are very intentional and based on a lot of the feedback of I'm arriving to work and we're having issues first thing in the morning. So what can our team do early on to support? The reason we don't have weekends, as I imagine this will be a question that comes up, is simply because of supervision right now. We want to be very mindful because this is a pilot project, but those are things that will be considered when we go back to council in November, knowing that weekends are also busy downtown. And so the team itself will be 2 experienced outreach workers, and they will each be paired with someone with lived and living experience. So there will always be 2 people out and about in our community.
Overall objectives of this program, again, through the outreach teams will be building relationships first and foremost. So really focusing on those public spaces and engaging with community members, really trying to bring back positive street culture. I mean, we hear it ourselves actually from our clients that they don't even feel safe sometimes, truthfully. And so really, again, using that peer-led model is to bring that back and then inadvertently for them to continue that after the hours of their outreach shifts, provide support to just increase feelings of safety, right? Because we know when sometimes we see unhoused community members, people potentially associate violence or feel unsafe or whatever it may be. And we're all entitled to our feelings, but how do we help kind of bring back that feeling so people will walk our downtown streets and feel safe? Act as a positive role model for community. So again, that's pretty significant with the block leaders, these folks with lived and living experiences, to demonstrate to others, their peers, how we should act, what we should do. And there is a significant amount of training that will go into anyone joining and becoming a block leader, because there are expectations and there is a positive representation that we are expecting. As Talia talked about linking up to warm transfers, and quite literally that will mean, hey Talia, come walk down the street with me. We're gonna go check out, for example, a reach clinic, or I'm gonna bring you to the consumption treatment site, whatever it may be, but really facilitating those warm handoffs. And then creating positive representation of equity deserving populations. So again, I think there is quite a stigma towards the unhoused community, and really trying to bring that sense of humanity back and representing folks as human beings. And that's the beautiful thing, is giving folks with living experience with an experienced outreach worker to go out together and start bringing back that positive perception. Next slide.
One of the pieces, just to build on that, Carolyn, is that it will also allow our community to learn a little bit more about the frustrations that some of the businesses have had, right? They are doing what they can to survive in the day-to-day and don't necessarily think of that ripple effect, but when we're able to build that relationship and that understanding, our hope is that we can see some sustained change in behaviors as well. So in terms of key program activities, building relationships will be huge. So come mid-April, we anticipate the team will start popping into businesses and saying hello to introduce themselves. They will be in identified clothing, so you will know who they are. And really getting to know you guys and to learn from you about the different challenges that you've had. So building that rapport. And really giving that space for some of these hard conversations that we need to have as a community. Again, proactive engagement, so trying to prevent things before they arise, really encouraging just basic human kindness and getting those basic needs met. We know sometimes that folks are sometimes just really hungry and so they're acting out. I too act out when I'm very hungry. So being mindful about what those immediate needs are and connecting folks as quickly as possible to those supports. Really taking the lead from folks that we're supporting to help them achieve their goals. So that is going to look different for everyone. Not everyone might not be ready for treatment. Not everyone might be ready to access a shelter space or to maintain housing, right? But what can we do to support them based on their current goals and what they're doing? And again, understanding the greater community's concerns and building capacity to understand. So again, that goes on both sides of the equation. I'll continue this one. So providing additional information. One of the things that we hear a lot is, I don't know who to call, right? I don't know if this is a Coast call or an MCERT call or 911 or Welcoming Streets. So really helping to build some understanding with the community about different services that are available. Because sometimes, if you know where that meal program is, you can make that referral on your own without having to call Welcoming Streets, right? So building a greater understanding of what's available. And one of the best parts, in my opinion, is providing folks with lived and living experience opportunities for employment. So our block leaders will be receiving an honorarium of $25 an hour. We're very happy about that. And so that will also help their buy-in with the program, but also create more opportunities for them, capacity building, skills building, and what could that lead to longer term.
So, what this means for you as business owners, Rachel's been incredibly helpful sharing a lot of feedback based on some of the concerns and needs that the downtown core is experiencing. So, our hope, by December, once we started this pilot project is, our streets are safer, they're cleaner. That will be a part actually of these teams. It is helping with some of the cleaning up aspect of it. Hopefully fewer negative incidents and less police involvement, right? And so we are collaborating with CORE as well and really working with them. So again, we can figure out together, because there's going to be some bumps at first. When is it welcoming streets and when is it appropriate for a police call? But how are we trying to figure out as a community, what is the best response? Improving pathways for communication with the unhoused community. I think this was something overwhelmingly we heard from Ottawa, a huge inadvertent benefit is it allowed for discussion between both the business owners but the unhoused community as well. So you're encouraging that dialogue to work together towards solutions and hear one another. Because that's a challenge. I can even say from a reach perspective, we have clinics all in the Queenston area. And sometimes folks don't understand truthfully what the issues are because they're not necessarily always hearing that. So that's a good chance for us to encourage that dialogue to work towards solutions. And then respect for property. We know it's a big thing, not just with business owners, but also amongst the unhoused community, truthfully. We do hear that quite frequently from a lot of our friends that is occurring between one another as well. And that is something in general we want to work towards is how are we building that, mutual respect and that occurs in multiple ways. Next slide.
Okay, so what the program is not, it is not a crisis-based support. So sometimes 911 or Coast are still the relevant phone calls, right? Welcoming Streets is not going to be there in the blink of an eye. And it'll be interesting to see what that response looks like in terms of the number of calls coming in and how quickly they're able to respond. The program is not police or security. So we will not remove people from a location. we will do our darndest to encourage them to access some other supports, to come with us and join groups, to come down to Ozanam for lunch. But at the end of the day, if that person does not want to move, that is not our role because we are not police or security. We are also not healthcare professionals, although Reach certainly does a lot of healthcare work, so it'll be a lot of referrals into that. But again, we are not the hospital system. The team out there, they're not doctors, so being mindful of that split. The program itself is not responsible for the problems people are experiencing. We know that the issues are very complex in our communities, but this is meant to be a support for folks, both the folks congregating downtown and the businesses. And certainly not the only solution to the current homelessness and drug use crisis. It would be wonderful if it was. I think we would all be very grateful for that. But we know that, again, these issues are very complex, and so we need multiple different types of initiatives in order to support people. But what the program is, again, ambassador, so all about building relationships and giving space for those broader discussions, sometimes hard discussions. Proactive, not reactive, we've touched on that. Advocates, that's going to be a big piece. Advocating for clients, advocating for businesses, and kind of finding that middle ground of where we can find some common ground and a happy medium for folks. And educators, I think that'll be a big piece of this. Again, both educating the community, but also looking at that bigger picture of building supports. I know there are frequent requests that come in through Rachel for training and capacity building. So we're hoping that this can be kind of a low threshold way to provide some education as well.
Hey, and this is just comparing, when it makes sense for police and when it makes sense for welcoming streets. I will say for welcoming streets, we will have a centralized number for businesses to be able to call, and a centralized email as well for you to be able to access. And we'll be certainly sharing that in a memo as well, have multiple promotion materials. Welcoming streets, so you are concerned for someone, you know what I mean? You're not sure quite what's going on and you just need someone to touch base with them. That would be certainly us. You think someone may benefit, whether it's getting access to food, whether it's getting access to healthcare, whatever it may be, that will also be us. General safety concerns, and truthfully, maybe we're not sure who to call. Maybe we're like, is this 211 for now? So is this 911? Who is it? Like, we do see ourselves, particularly at the beginning, it's a brand new program that we'll be doing some of that triaging, and then our hope is to be able to come back to this forum and share with you truthfully and hear from you what's working, what's not working, what are the calls that we're saying, hey, you know what, we've realized not us, police or whoever else it may be, but these calls are us. And I think that's to be expected with any new pilot program. First responders, I think most folks know this very, very well. Someone's unresponsive. If you think they've had an overdose, we will of course be carrying Narcan with us. Our staff are trained in that, but they would be advised to call 911 truthfully if they responded to an overdose. Mental health or crisis related call, any concerns around self-harm or anything like that, and if there's a physical alteration. I think this is all very self-explanatory, but we have been getting some of these questions. When do we call you? When do we call police? When do we call 211? But again, we'll be open for feedback as we sort this. Next slide.
Okay, so because this is a pilot, we need everyone's help around the table to make this successful. A key component is the engagement with the business community. So we are hoping that folks around the table and other businesses downtown obviously can welcome our team in when they are kind of doing introductions, that they work on building the rapport and the trust with the team, and sharing concerns in a constructive manner. Our team can't help if we don't know what the specific issues are. So being as transparent as possible, just so that our team can better understand some of the issues that businesses are facing, being part of the solution. By actively participating in this, you will be part of the solution. And participating in discussions, being open to other mindsets, different ways of thinking about things, looking at the evidence behind a lot of this work, and certainly sharing any feedback on training and resources that will be helpful. Again, this is a pilot, so there will be some learnings along the way. One thing that I think we hope to touch on quickly today is talking about what communication would be helpful for you. What's the frequency of it? What's the format? What does that look like in terms of updates, in terms of feedback that you have for us? What makes the most sense for you? And then of course, once the program is up and running, engaging with the team as needed.
Thank you. One thing we forgot to mention is we're also partnering with Brock University. So we're partnering with, a few, professors to actually help us with evaluation. I mean, from a region positive living perspective, it's really important to us that everything is evidence informed. That again, we're being really intentional from an evaluation perspective to figure out what's working, what's not working. And when we view businesses as really important as part of, that discussion. So the plan for that will be in the fall, knowing that we have to go back to council in November to share our feedback. Okay, thanks, Sarah. So I guess we can open the floor for questions, but also to tell us when, I think we just really honestly want to come today to say, you know, to hear from you from a communication perspective, like what would be helpful? What do you need? And what makes the most sense for communication as we kind of launch this program?
Or, I guess, before I do the question, you mentioned you won't be operating on weekends for now, this is a pilot project.
Yeah.
How late of the day would be going on the other way days?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And that's because when we put in our proposal to the region, we were rather conservative with staffing dollars. I think once we were strategic with staffing dollars, knowing that this was our first time strictly as agencies requesting money. And that will be a big piece as we will be evaluating hours of operation.
What is your budget now?
128,000 for one,
Comes from the region.
which will be coming from the region, and then we'll also, both respective agencies are providing some in-kind funds as well.
Yeah, we can call you before again, we'll be operating. Obviously, a lot of people who are on the streets may not operate by banking hours.
Yep.
Right, is the reach out also bound to those specific hours?
Yes.
To chime in, so as Carolyn and Talia mentioned, this is an initiative that is not new, so it's being done across the province. And we have heard fantastic feedback from other BIAs who typically fund the project. So we are very lucky that it is not coming out of our budget. The region is funding it, and I'm hoping that will continue as a successful project. The reason why it's been so impactful is because businesses have a direct contact and someone physical they can see that's there to help and support. And that is something I've heard a lot from our businesses is, who do I call? What do I do? Where do I go? What do I say? So I'm personally really excited and grateful for this initiative.
Is this gonna be like walking on the street so you guys will be visible? Because I mean, I have called 211 and I have called the police and no one has showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be on foot the majority
Is
of
it
the
like from
time.
St. Paul to like Queenston? Like what's your jurisdiction?
Downtown, all of downtown and then into Queenston, because that's where a lot of the services will
So
be.
it'd be just 2 people a day on?
2 teams.
2 teams.
Oh, so 2 teams.
Two
like
teams a
one
day.
end and one
So
side.
if you think of it though, it's actually quite a lot of coverage that these 2 teams can do, because we're only, honestly, I hope you're gonna see that downtown team multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Because we're only, our proposal to the region was strictly downtown core and Queenston. And again, it's 2 teams going out at the same time during their shifts, so it'll be very consistent.
They will also be in identifying clothing, so you'll be able to see them, even if you're not interacting, you should be seeing them
Mhm.
walking the streets.
Yeah. Quick question though, I remember that the police were gonna do some sort of pilot program that they be walking the streets. Did anyone know whatever happened to that?
They are, so it's the court team,
Yeah.
so there's about 6 or 7 officers that are dedicated to the court. The challenge sometimes they get pulled away from the things, right, so high priority issues, so that's why we're
Would
not.
that be Rusty? Is that you
Yes.
heading that? Okay. Yeah, he's good. Mhm.
It's one of
Yeah, Rob is the head of Rob.
And we're working closely with Rob as part of this as well.
I think there was a question in the back also, I just don't want to lose that one.
I was just wondering, should this pilot project, be fruitful, do you have some plans of maybe a drop-in center in, 3 to 5 years?
I think that's outside of the scope of this particular project. There are other services like that in the neighborhood, and those would certainly be good referral sources.
So you also- Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just to say, I spent some time in Ottawa and seeing the impact that it's had in the Byward market, and it's quite it's quite incredible what has changed in the Byward market over the last couple of years. Since they introduced the balcony streets. It's called balcony streets there, isn't it? Yes.
Yep.
And it has been an incredibly positive experience. If you talk to any of the business owners that are in the Byward market, they will talk about how wonderful the program is and how it has really significantly helped a lot of the issues that we are also experiencing in the downtown core and in the Queenston area. So it's a very positive project, and I'm thrilled that it's here. And I'll leave it there.
Karen, could you describe a couple of those changes that have happened?
Sure, and just when I've been in Ottawa, it was a couple of years ago that I saw the program starting, and we were there for a conference and we saw some of the Welcoming Streets folks who were very identifiable, stop to chat with them to say, what is this? How does it work? They explained it. A year later, back in the Byward market, it's very noticeable at that time. The vulnerable population was very much taking up residence in the Byward market, and it was very unfortunate. A year later, same, go back, and significantly fewer folks, I'm gonna call it hanging out, that people were being directed to where they needed to get help and were getting the help. It was just fewer incidences. We also talked to the folks who were running again a year later, spoke to them. And they also talked about how there were fewer calls or fewer folks reaching out to them because the business owners knew that the Welcoming Streets folks were out walking around and they had built the relationships with folks and were very quick to respond to people who were new. When they found somebody who was new, they were able to reach out and get them the help and the services they needed. So it was a very positive conversation, and I know Caleb also had conversations with them, and Adrian Jugley, former commissioner, she also had conversations. And as well, I've spoken to counselors in Brampton, where they started with a very small pilot project and have now expanded it to, I think, 4 different locations in the.
So half a mil, I think, budget now.
Yeah, it's
for
a
Ramsey.
very
It's
large
high.
budget with significant staffing because it has had such a positive impact. So you don't really have to go that far to kind of see the successes.
Great.
Yeah.
Karen, and maybe if you would answer any.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one of the things that I found in the area, and I'm gonna say it started probably about 8 years ago, the advent of the fentanyl crisis, and correct me guys, is that we lost all the natural leaders in the community.
Yes.
Yes.
And all those natural leaders who had some kind of code of conduct, some kind of responsibility, and that has created a huge vacuum and great upheaval on the streets. And I think I can see these people, because they're peer led,
Yeah.
as becoming natural leaders once again, which is huge, because yeah, it's absolutely indicative that there's no moral code kind of out there that there was for such a long time.
Yeah, and that's been very much on our radar, and we hear that from community. We've lost an entire generation, it feels like, to the overdose crisis, unfortunately, and so there haven't been those mentors within the community. So when we talk about restoring street justice, that's a huge piece of it. You know, Carolyn referenced, we hear this from our community too, theft in encampments, like it's an issue even within that community. And so mentoring and building that up again, we're optimistic will be hugely successful.
And we've heard from Ottawa, you know, to Roman's kind of point, like those things take time too. Like we're not anticipating that we're gonna see this dramatic change. No, we're anticipating it's gonna be slow and steady. But one thing we've heard from Ottawa, now they've been running this program for a number of years, is that street justice has been a huge thing that they're seeing. And a real shift they're seeing amongst the unhoused community, again, by having folks with living experience going outside, you know, their block leaderships and saying to people, don't do that. People are mad at us, you're gonna get us in trouble. And they shared that. That was, again, an inadvertent win to this program, but it takes time, right?
But if I could just add to that, that actually sets people up for success.
It does.
Because now people are able to be housed in a
Yes.
successful way, able
Yes.
to enter into recovery if that's their choice in a successful way. So
Yeah.
it has a huge ripple effect.
I assume you have this one.
Well, no, I'm done. It's great. I'm looking forward to step 1.
So are we.
unhoused community is like our best customers. We have had like an overwhelming amount of people to come into our store. And so we've had an opportunity to like just hang out with them and talk to them. And a lot of the problem is the theft within their community.
Correct. Yep.
And
Yep,
even
no doubt.
hanging out at our store and just like having a cup of water or just resting in somewhere safe
Yeah.
has been huge for them, in the sense that, I mean, I don't see a lot of the, you know, the turmoil in our stores, unless of course they're just had drugs or something, I'm not sure, like, you know what I mean, there's just that erratic behavior that we don't know how to de-escalate. We don't see that as much as people coming and saying, my shoes got stolen, we try to help them out, we do have some racks that they love, and it has been a huge community, so I think having support for the store to say like, how do I have this conversation with them?
Yeah.
I think that this would be huge for our staff downtown.
Yeah.
For sure.
David, last one.
I interpret this organization as quarterback organization that coordinates with, I'm told there are 9 or 10, and let's be very candid, the problems downtown are homeless and drugs. That's the problems. And that's the majority. Are you a quarterback to say to these people, you need to go here, you need to go here, you need to do this? So you're the quarterback of these existing 9 or 10 organizations?
Yeah, so I think that a huge component of this is that referral process and letting people know what services exist. Even working within the community, it can be overwhelming sometimes to remember all of the organizations, all of the programs they run, all of the groups they support. So I see this program as really that conduit or the quarterback to encouraging people to access those things that can really support them in various aspects of their lives.
And you're able to direct some people.
Yep.
Yes.
And I don't know that my figure is accurate, but in dealing with the homeless and drug problem, there are 9 or 10 different organizations that sometimes are at cross purposes, but your purpose is to coordinate to see which one of the 9 or 10 organization you should refer these people to. So you're different from hands-on dealing with homeless and dealing with drugs. You don't deal with that.
But we do as
We do,
agencies
yeah.
reflectively, yeah. So both of us as agencies, both deal with both those topics. And so that, you know, that's a big piece. It's why we chose actually to do it collaboratively together, this program based on both of our agencies' kind of mandates. But this team will, yeah, exactly where you're starting, going out there, kind of starting those conversations, facilitating them, and then bringing them to what is the most appropriate service that that person wants in that moment. Because I think we have to acknowledge too, sometimes, and we see this all the time at Reach, so if folks are not aware, we predominantly do healthcare service for the unhoused community. It takes many conversations until someone's even ready, truthfully, for our service, right? But that's the benefit with this team, is being consistent with people, is to keep having those conversations where then we can walk them down to Queenston or wherever it may be to get access to a service based on what they've identified.
So you don't look on yourself as an additional service to these existing 9 or 10 agencies.
Like a helping hand.
I think it really is just humility and trust. These people are gonna be the trustful people that they're gonna offer them a meal and then have a conversation, like what's going on, and then they can direct them, because not only drug, it's, a lot of people are unhoused at this point, and if I was unhoused, I wouldn't know where to go. So they would be the people that you would say, where do I go if I need this, this, or this?
And it may be at one of those 9 or 10 different agencies. It's not just referrals into the agencies that we work for, right? It's what meets the need of that person at that time.
Thank you very much. All right.
Sorry. There is presently a regional staff coming that are on the street and do somewhat similar. Are they being transitioned to your program, or how is that working?
Yeah, I think you're referring to NASO. So NASO is a regionally funded program that is very much a housing focused program. When they go out and chat with people, it's very much around, how can I get you into shelter? How can we work towards getting you housing? And so we will be collaborating very, very closely. We already do as agencies. But again, for us, it's just like starting those conversations. And if someone says, how do we know, we're gonna call NASO for you. Yeah.
Talia, Carolyn, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
look forward to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So do we. Yeah, you know, I think for us, like, it'd be helpful, Rachel, if you don't mind collecting maybe some feedback from the businesses about some communication opportunities. We are gonna send a memo probably within 2 weeks. All staff have been hired, and we'll be starting actually next Monday. Fast and furious. And so I anticipate by mid-April, you will be seeing our team, and they'll just be popping in saying hello, getting to know you. But then we'll also be providing with promotion material that, but we want to hear from you. So please let us know for ongoing communication, what would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, folks. Thanks for having us.
Next up, we have Jessica Wilson. Public Supervisor for City of St. Catharines. And this is about the art in the windows downtown.
Yeah, so Rachel had asked me to provide kind of a short presentation on the artists that we selected for this downtown storefront public art project. So ultimately, we got together a selection committee made up of some of our Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, and then some other members of the arts community in St. Catharines, to go through the 400 submissions that we received for this program. So that was incredible. It was a lot of work for the committee, but ultimately, I guess the conversation that they had was really around like the artistic integrity of the work and how does it reflect, you know, the purpose of public art and what we're trying to, or what we want to share about artists in the community. So there were great submissions, and ultimately these were the 5 that we shortlisted. But if there is room to grow this program in the future, we've got a long list to pick from. So this is just a rendering of how it might look, how one of the pieces might look. So this is on our Ontario Street parking garage, which is going to be one of the sites that we'll use. There's a lot of vacant windows on the main floor, and it's a very visible location. So we haven't decided which of the 5 pieces will go there, but this is just a mock-up of what it might look like. So if you want to go to the next slide. So this is one piece that was selected. The artist Quinn Oberlin, it's called Shadow Puppet. So, you know, really bright, beautiful piece. I can imagine it looking great on a very visible storefront downtown, draws people's attention. If you want to go to the next one. So this one is by Marvin Dale, an Indigenous artist who lives in St. Catharines, from Thunder Bay originally. You know, yeah, he's great. And you know, although this maybe isn't as bright and vibrant as Quinn's on the previous slide, the committee felt like it really had an important message. There was an opportunity to kind of communicate something about what it feels like to be Indigenous in the city, and that kind of identity crisis. So his artist statement and the intent behind the work really came through to the committee. And on the first slide where I showed the mock-up, there will be space for an artist statement as well. So it won't just be the art, it'll be kind of the meaning behind the art as well. So you can see that there. So that's an opportunity for the artist to kind of communicate their intent. And then the next slide. This is another Indigenous artist, Christian Chapman. So we did open up the call to artists to all Indigenous artists whose traditional territory this might have been. So that includes the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. So Christian is Anishinaabe, Thunder Bay as well, but this is, you know, we thought this was a really, it serves that kind of vibrancy, but there's also kind of this message of duplicity, and the committee really liked that piece. So do you want to move to the next one? This is an artist who lives in St. Catharines, Wayne Moore. That watermark there is not part of the piece, but beautiful piece about him and his 2 sons, and we felt like it kind of spoke to the Black experience in St. Catharines and, you know, that history and connection. So that was another piece. And then this is Erin Greensey and the culvert. So they're very different, all 5 pieces. But, you know, this really spoke to the committee because it does, you know, for me who hikes a lot, I mean, it does really call to mind this kind of the natural area of St. Catharines and what you might see on a hike. I personally feel it's very reminiscent of this area. So the committee loved the piece and felt that, you know, it's an important one that we can showcase kind of the beauty of the landscape of St. Catharines. So these were selected back in December, and the culture team's budget actually, we weren't sure at the time when Rachel came to you and asked for a commitment of $5,000. We weren't sure what the cost of printing would be, because they'll be printed on vinyl and then sold on the exterior vacant storefronts. But it turns out we don't actually need your 5,000, which is good news, a little cheaper than we had anticipated. But I've got a great idea that I'm going to propose after this, so don't get too excited. So yeah, we'll be installing these now that the weather is turned. They need you know, they need a temperature above about 10 degrees to install on the outside of the windows. So you'll be seeing these go up fairly soon. Now I do need help still finding 3 more locations. But now the weather is turning, I will begin that work in earnest to kind of get those commitments from business owners. I'd like at least 4 months of these pieces up, if not longer. So, you know, a business owner who's looking to rent his or her property, you know, imminently is maybe not the right vacant property for us, but somewhere that's sitting vacant and, you know, there's maybe no plans to rent it out would be an ideal situation. So if anyone has any thoughts or ideas on vacant properties that are sitting there, please do help me get in touch with those landlords.
Could you flip back to the first slide, please? Well, it's the same as the last one, right? It's the
Yeah,
last one.
yeah, so that's how the image would be kind of made to fit the shape of the source.
Do we know how long the actual print will persist with fading?
Yeah, I mean, it's like permanent in that, you know, it would be like multiple years before it would sort of deteriorate or fade. Now, if it was vandalized, we would replace. But generally, like this is the kind of treatment you would see. I think there's Garden City Cannabis has a similar decal on their window. They have a historic scene on the window, so it's that same material. So it's perforated vinyl as well, so you can, if you're standing inside the building, you can see out.
Does the building have to necessarily be vacant?
No, if it's a storefront that you want to offer up because the business doesn't necessarily need that, you know, visible storefront, then that would be another option. And Monte's the second location that have offered a window. They have a window that's kind of vacant, I suppose, even though it's a heavily used business. So yeah, there's other businesses downtown like that I would love to get in touch with. The Verge being one, used to be the old Verge Insurance on St. Paul. I mean, I've knocked on the door and it's just like a lobby, but I think it would be a prime location. I don't know how to get in touch with.
I know the owner's like in.
Okay.
Are we limiting to first story?
That's a good question. I mean, the project was conceived to kind of address that feeling of, you know, vacancy that I think is harmful to the downtown. But not necessarily.
Could be a beautification issue,
Yeah.
period.
I agree with one on that.
Just a question, is there gonna be more artwork added eventually, or is this it, like, just giving a handful of pieces and that's it?
So it's 5 at this point, it's a pilot project, and that's as far as our budget, will allow, however, you know, if there was an influx in, well, I'm thinking the vacant store owners has been actually the hardest part of this project, is getting those properties.
It's not that local, probably, right?
Yeah, and even Rapid City Cycle, like I went on a bit of a, like investigative journey, finding the property owner for that. We had a good conversation. But he's had health issues, and then, you know, he's got plans to kind of sell the building eventually, but you know, wary of his broker not wanting him to do anything. So there's just like complicated stories behind some of these.
Have you communicated with anyone on James Street? Like on the left side?
On
of
James
the-
Street?
Yeah, left side of the boot shop. That's been like vacant for lots of years. I feel like, yeah, I don't know, it's a huge window.
Oh, yeah, we can think
No.
about it.
Yeah, oh, we did measure that one out, yeah.
I don't know, like I think about Toronto corners, but I mean, it's a beautiful window.
If we're gonna
I
have
just say, like, I like their work that was presented there, it was very nice and very unique or original. But I also like some of their work that the cannabis store, which features some of the, you know, downtown moments that were captured, you know, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, now, I agree, I love those historic images. Part of my mandate in the culture office is supporting the arts community in St. Catherine. So while this is an opportunity to beautify downtown, it's also an opportunity for us to support artists in the community and kind of promote the artistic talent that we have. So I definitely think there's an opportunity for, you know, sharing the historic images, and I think that might be somewhere we could bring the museum in, if there was interest, but yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Or even just, you know, the natural landscapes, which are pretty popular, water fountain in front of the old courthouse, I mean, things like that, and just kind of place them in certain strategic locations. Something that was special for the eyes you're passing by, either like a nice flower bed or something like that, you know, just basic, you know,
Yeah.
natural landscapes, I think might be a good thing as well.
Any other questions?
I love that. I don't think the issue is finding the artwork. I think the issue is finding the spot to put the artwork. So yeah, if we can get people to buy into it, then you know, it's really also love to see every
Abandoned.
The hope is with the ones that do go up, people will like it so
Yeah,
positively, it'll
generates some.
snowball. into others.
Exactly, I
Like,
think that,
Looking at these practical examples would be easier when.
I think what getting those 5 storefronts and people seeing that it actually looks good and, you know, the city's willing to support it, I think, you know, if that kind of sets the train in motion, so to speak, then
And are these all local artists? I know you mentioned that they were some from here.
so yes, there's, well, I mean, the indigenous artist from Thunder Bay, he doesn't live in St. Catharines, but it's the
Did you have choice of people that were here that lived in this area? Like, did you have, like, out of that many, did you choose someone out of Thunder Bay versus someone that was an artist in St. Catharines?
well, yeah, there was 400 submissions, so anyone who was eligible within that eligibility criteria that we set, which was you have to be from St. Catharines or it has to be part of your traditional territory. We would select them based on the preference of the committee for the work.
Do we have any other questions before we do Jessica and Freedom?
I'm not ready to.
Yeah, click on it.
So, okay, so if you could move forward, yes, okay, so I'm not sure who of you have driven by the old GM site on Ontario Street recently, but there's murals that have gone up along Ontario Street in Hague, and there's one artist, he's actually come from Ukraine as a refugee and made St. Catharines his home, and he is a professional mural artist. and he is incredibly talented. Now, he did this, and you can kind of scroll through at your will, he did this piece because he wanted, I don't think there was no payment for this, he did this because he wanted to contribute to the project, and this is his skill set. But if you scroll through his portfolio, which is all on his Instagram, and I would encourage you to check it out. He has done major commissions across the world, actually, and I'm just personally thrilled that he's made St. Catherine's his home, and I would love to take the opportunity to use his expertise. So last week or the week before, we drove around St. Catherine's with him and kind of pointed out some of the spots that we would love to see some artwork, some murals, and one of them was underneath the bridge towards the Meridian Center, which I know has been kind of an ongoing challenge for the city and the business owners, and in light of, I won't jump ahead, but so he had provided a quote that was under $5,000 to do the entire area, not just that one wall, but even the rough stones that lead all the way down. So he could basically do a mural that was, you know, something that I think we could perhaps, us as a group, and the better, the Welcoming Streets presentation that we just had was actually very pertinent to this conversation, because I think he could potentially do a piece of work that was informed by community, meaning business owners and people that, you know, like to hang out down there. So we could ask for input on what the content and the theme of that mural would be. But I would recommend that 5,000 that we weren't gonna need for the vacant storefront project could be utilized towards this. And I think that the city, although I haven't spoken to the CAO's office yet, I think that perhaps they can contribute too, in the sense that anti-graffiti coating could be applied to the mural once it's done, because I know that would be, you know, somewhat of a concern going down there, but having it kind of permanently beautified with this artist who, yeah.
Just a quick question, and I'm not sure, but I've heard many stories about under the bridge being an unsafe situation with fires and fights and stuff like that. So would we be encouraging people to go down there to look at this art, and then also being a threat of going down there? I don't know, like, do you clean up the situation before?
I don't mind helping a little bit. So I would argue that that's already the case in terms of when Meridian has frequent community events. They don't go the ranking bridge, so that's the way they have to go, by the alleyway. So people are already going that way.
That's not, like, I mean, people that go there, I actually walk around that area. Like, I've gone to many events. Like, even schools have been notified not to walk through there. So like, there's a newsletter when we have events, when there's a Meridian Center, and actually giving us a direction how to walk out. Because there has been issues in that area. That's my concern.
That's the first I've
Yeah.
heard of that. My understanding was that that wasn't the case, that they were still directing people that way. And when I reached out to Meridian, if they had concerns about the area, they've always said no. Which is funny that they're doing notices otherwise.
But so you're saying that that's a safe area for people to walk?
I feel, and I will let everybody else speak to this, but I feel the area has improved a fair bit. The city has security cameras going infrequently at random times to the area, and I think that has helped mitigate some of those challenges. It is not perfect by any means, but I think sometimes by showing you care about an area helps. It's that whole broken windows syndrome, right?
Rachel, we're looking for a motion to take the specific findings we had from the first project to this one. I'm fine with pushing that. If we can, I'm looking for a motion to take the US, like phrase it, specifically the funds from what was the first project?
So if we say 5,000 contribution not needed for window art initiative to be used to do a mural in the alleyway at the Rankin Bridge.
So moved. Yeah, we'll take a second here. All right, All four? All right, I need votes against. Any against?
I don't know enough about it, I feel like it was, we should have a conversation.
That was normal after we first and second.
Yeah.
We're second to have a conversation.
Yeah, sure, all right. Let's have a conversation about it.
I'm just gonna speak to Andre's work. He is a world-renowned, literally a world-renowned artist. That for him to offer, to do a mural for the price that he's offering is absolutely phenomenal, because I have seen his work. He works in LA, he works in Ukraine, he works in Europe, he works across North America. We were we were very lucky and fortunate that he decided to make his home St. Catherine's, and I would strongly suggest taking a trip down to Hague Street to see his mural, because it has absolutely transformed that street. It has reduced the graffiti to almost nothing. That side of this property, vacant property, was regularly vandalized, regularly graffitied, regularly abused, and the neighborhood has seen a significant change since this mural went up. As Rachel alluded to, the broken window syndrome, for those who, I will quote the mayor, for those who remember Rudy Giuliani in his better, more formative years, he had a theory and talked a lot about the theory of broken window syndrome. So if you have one broken window, you are going to have many broken windows. So if you repair a single broken window, and he made significant change in New York City. I could talk about the GM site, and I can say that there has been we've gone from literally weekly reports of graffiti on that property to in the last, I would say, since July.
Has there been a coating put on that one?
No, the two spots that have been graffiti, that artists have come back and cleaned it up and painted it for us. But like we were talking, just I can't even remember how many times we would have staff have reports of graffiti. We've had two, both of which were repaired very quickly, because part of what Andre does and most muralists, when they do it, they take it on as a permanent. It's their art. So would strongly suggest that, you know.
I don't think anyone's saying that we don't.
I'm going to go for questions. More questions for stuff going on, you're next. Sorry, Ted, you have something?
I just want to get that Jennifer.
Oh, sorry. I didn't see the line. All right, Jennifer, probably have Jennifer, then Orhan. We'll go from there.
I just had a question regarding accepting this project. I'm confused as to why we're having a further discussion. Isn't this something we've been talking about for 2 to 3 years with respect to hoarding, windows, public art? If anyone has an explanation, I'm not quite sure why.
The only reason why I raised any question was not of the artist. It was just where, like, why, if he's renowned artist, why are we not putting them when people walking down the street, or are you saying many people are going through there and that's why you want to see it?
I shortened either meeting.
No, I'm just saying, I'm sorry. That art is something we've been asking for quite a number of years, especially with respect to beautification of downtown and some of the areas that are a little bit more derelict. I'm just thinking that we'd be jumping at the chance to implement a project like this.
Sure. I don't think anyone disagrees with the art. I mean, the art's beautiful. It's just getting it on the walls and maintaining it properly to where it doesn't look derelict in, 3 to 6 months. There are some examples of great art right by Matei that have been art installations, but if you look at them today, there's graffiti all over the bottom within the first 10 feet of the ground. The alleyway specifically is just not managed in a way that this is a safe environment. The city already had issues to start to delay thousands of people here a few weeks ago. And by the city's own admission, their cleanup crew had 30 piles, over 30 piles of feces just in the alleyway. So it's not an area that we really want to, it's not gonna, I mean, you put this up there, it'll be covered within a few weeks at least, and it'll probably they'll set a fire next to it and have a burn mark trying on it. It's, in fact, as you go through it now, you'll see multiple fire burns. It's probably, I mean, there's graffiti everywhere in all aspects of the alleyway. So if you're gonna spend the money to put this beautiful art in, there needs to be some sort of plan where the city is going to maintain the site, we're gonna secure the site, and do all the other things that go along with keeping the art nice. Because otherwise, if it doesn't look nice, it totally goes against wasted money, wasted effort, and it doesn't add to the city, it takes away from the city, so. That's like.
I have Orhan next.
It was just, it was the same thing that he said, that it was gonna be penalized, there's gonna be burn marks. And I was what kind of coding they put on it, if it's gonna have that. That was my biggest concern, I was studying that kind of like, valuable art, I like the art, that was very now, but you can see it. It's, you know, a wall, you turn it into something special that, you know, stare at and study and put that in every shit. So I just look that that's the area for that at this point. I'm not saying I won't change my mind, and I'd like to see what kind of art would be considered that location as well. That's it.
Thanks. I know when we had a quote, I tried to do a grant to do these mural, not quite as big, on the side of our building, and it was in the tens of thousands of dollars. My grant ask was $25,000. So for something like that, for $5,000 is an absolute steal.
It was up to 5,000, it's.
I don't think it's the art or the money, it's the position, it's like, are we putting, I don't think the artist,
I have
I know.
things that, so I think it's an absolute steal. I think the fact that somebody from outside the community or new to the community is making this their home, saying, I want to beautify this area, is a huge thing. And I think, for me, I need to honor that. And I am very cognizant, I'm aware of the things that beautiful mural on Monte has been there for almost 10 years now. I mean, actually, it's for a 10-year mural, it's actually in pretty good shape, I think. And I still find great joy in it, it's peeling paint, actually, as well. So, I think that if we believe in beautification of the downtown core is a key strategy to bring people here and keep them here, I think, one, we will be the first in the mode, but two, I think that's one of the areas that needs it the most. And I think if somebody is willing to maintain it in a way, which sounds like he is, that's pretty amazing. And I think what a wonderful thing that somebody came to the city, the downtown core, and said, I want to personally invest in this. And it's not precluding us from doing it in other places. But this is an offer for one specific place, for one specific price, by one specific person. And I think that's the question. It's not an either or, the both end, but this is an offer. And we really want to choose something.
Did he choose the spot or did you choose the
So
spot?
so this location has been one that, I've heard not just through Rachel, but through the CAO's office and probably Robin as well, that this is, been an issue for downtown businesses. I had a woman come and meet me at a coffee shop, and she had Googled, because she was not from St. Catharines, safest parking spot to park in St. Catharines, because she was nervous about coming downtown. And it told her to park down by the Meridian Center, and she had to walk up through that bridge. So she had actually printed out her MapQuest or Google Maps thing, and then she said, they just told me to park down there, and I had to walk through that alleyway, and it was awful. So I've been hearing about this alleyway for since I started working here a year ago, and I do believe in the power of art to change people's perception of the space. I do think that the potential to engage with the community who hangs out down there is also potentially transformative for the space, having them feel some kind of participation or ownership in terms of the content of the art. Potentially the opportunity for them to meet the artists would be another factor I think might help change use of the space or definitely vandalism of the space. So yeah, he was given, we went to multiple sites, but I think. Yeah,
Sorry, just gonna be.
I'm done.
No, I think, for those of us that spend a lot of time when it comes to community building and placemaking, we have experienced and seen, whether it be here, whether it be Calgary, whether it be Ottawa, whether it be Toronto, whether it be Kitchener, whether it be Windsor, I could probably name a lot of places. We have seen what a transformation of this space can do. And you can have the conversations of what comes first, do you clean a site up, or do you invest in it and then see change? I will say that in most cases that I have seen across the country, and around the world, the change has to come first. Or sorry, the art and the community building comes first. No one's going to transform a site, and get people to go through it. Part of why people don't like to go down there is because it's dark, it's uninviting. It is a place where people want to hang out. If you have more traffic, which is one of the things that we as a city have talked about for a very long time, is, you know, if you have more people, more traffic, more people walking, more people visiting, do some of the problems go away? And I say yes, and I've seen that happen specifically most recently in Fairview Park. We had over 25 encampment or tents in Fairview Park. The city chose to clean up the park. Even though many people said, well, no, you have to clear people out first. No, we cleaned up the park. And it then became a place where the residents want to go. And if you talk to any of the residents now who live around Fairview Park and use it on a daily basis, they've said, thank you so much for cleaning it up. It made the difference. It gave us the reason. That's the, chicken and the egg. I don't think an investment, personally, an investment of 5,000?
Under 5,000.
Under 5,000. Especially if the CAO's office and the city are willing to commit money to the coding, which I do have council fund, and I'm more than happy, as you know, Jessica, to spend money on art because I love it. My experience tells me that artwork changes places.
I go to Jenna first, and then I have a point before. Jen, you're up.
I really just wanted to agree with Robin. I did work on a big public art project for sustainability for the Windsor Essex Parkway. Windsor had atrocious graffiti record everywhere you could possibly imagine before the border to Detroit. And all of the art pieces that they did install were almost never tagged because the community truly cherished the art projects. And it ended up becoming a completely different study on its own, where people actually went from person to person within the community, and they had nothing but glowing reviews and to be so grateful and happy that people had invested in their community with high quality art. So I absolutely agree with Robin. I've seen it firsthand. It does change the community and it changes the environment that it's in. So I absolutely agree with the project.
I have two colleagues that I work with the convention circuit that they did one of the largest murals in Chinatown of Calgary. They also happen to do all of the bus benches on the area, which used to be. They did this large project where they beautified it, but they also did for it an anti-graffiti coding. It went from being tagged constantly to being tagged once a year. Assholes still exist. They will cause damage, but everyone else cared more now. Like, in all these circumstances, like there's outside the University of Peking, there's a long tunnel that connects the small town to the campus. Where before it was just a desolate tunnel that got neglected and had some serious problems. Once they engaged the students to actually make it artistic, it encouraged people to go there to check it out, and then they cared. And the project just kept expanding. Murals cost a ton. This is a fraction of the cost. Even like 5,000 anti-graffiti coating is not unreasonable for these kind of concepts. If we want people to care, we have to make it nice. And I will always support a degree of beautification. I'd rather take the shot and hope it works than let assholes win. I can't make the call. Okay, go ahead. Oh, yes, sir. Last 2 points, and then we'll put your vote.
Even without art, there was a spot in Montreal where the train tracks come under a bridge going towards school. That's where people who were kind of go jumping on trains or jumping off trains would go. It was also a spot where you'd have needles, trash piles, the whole thing. They just made a little track where you can hike because it's off of the bicycle path. And suddenly you have families hiking there. They eat it up once. They almost don't need to clean it up anymore because it has more access. So people use it. Even if there's no reason to do that other than just take a small hike in the south, like this is the area, and you don't need to clean it up as much. Favoring access and making it more inviting has proven results of just keeping it cleaner because it's no longer a challenge to go there or secluded space where you can do what you want away from the eyes. You have more traffic.
Stephen, last point.
Yeah, I just circle back to the previous item, Welcoming Streets Initiative. This is a great meeting. 2 initiatives dealing with issues that have been going on for 3, 4, 5 years. It used to drove me crazy at every meeting. All we talk about is problems with unhoused people. Here's, we've got 2 items on this agenda that are going to work positively to dealing with the issue. I think it's a good meeting.
I believe that's all the things we're gonna have time for. I'd like to put 2 votes. Let's see, all 4. I see Elon, I see Jen. Do I have any opposed?
Sorry, can you want to take this account, everyone? I'm just trying to do a recording vote. So 4 was, I've got,
Oh, I also Joe.
4 online.
Karen,
Alright.
Joe,
Thank you, Matt, but you don't get to.
Joe, and perfect. And Robin, sorry, I'm assuming.
Oh, I'm for.
In favor? And Josh, sorry,
Oh, yes.
and against?
David.
Thank
Carried. All right, let's move on to the governance update. We're running low on time.
All right, that's
That's it, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
And, it should be, you should see it going up pretty soon then. Great, so.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Really
everybody.
appreciate it.
Just the governance update is just about the salary increases, which is just a notification, to let us know that that's gonna happen. The additional, we're also reviewing the living wage amount to make sure, that everybody's still above the living wage. And then, of course, Rachel can recommend any additional increases, for the performance of the board of directors, so we do have that as a motion, so I'd like to move that.
Sharon, this still ties it to inflation.
That's right.
Oh, either. Other hand.
I move,
Can I get a seconder, please? You're up.
Robin.
All right, open up the conversation. David.
Question, aren't a lot of these increases based on merit and individual job performances?
Yeah, we don't have any capacity within our budget from last year to have any merit increases. So we do them on an ad hoc basis as recommended by Rachel. This is just cost of living. By the cost price index. Consumer price index.
Oh my God, with the cost of living, it's based on the consumer price index. We are presently going through a situation, which we haven't seen before, where an increase in lease rates is gonna be tied to the consumer price index. It's usually about 2 or 3%. This particular situation goes back and they're caught during COVID, which was 6 to 8%. Landlord getting killed with this one. So that's why I'm a little concerned on automatically saying consumer, we don't know what's gonna happen. We are economically in turmoil with the United States and so on. Who knows what's gonna happen to our CPI? And just to overtly to say automatically, I'm a little concerned with that. The merit of it, I agree with. But in terms of tying it together specifically with the CPI, that concerns me.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. Unfortunately, the challenge is that I don't know that we're going to be able to keep staff. If we can't guarantee that they're going to get what we're on the pay if we get them, right? This is just specifically for the staff.
Well, that's one thing, but you're saying an automatic increase of the CPI. Again, what else say it's not get through because of Rachel's jurisdiction. Staff use that here.
This is just to say that we can stay competitive and that people can actually live on what we're paying them. If there's a meritorious increase, that always comes to the board under recommendation by Rachel.
I have four on, and then I.
I gotta make a recommendation, maybe we should go on camera with this, and then we've done some stuff out this year. Discussion, please.
Sure. Yep, I'm sorry, guys, it's everybody but board out. I'm assuming you want all staff out too.
Yeah, sure.
I do have a question.
We'll get back to you as soon as we get it up.
Oh, how long is this gonna take?
As long as.
Okay, so.
We need to get a motion.
Do you need
I
to
thought you were gonna
do a motion before I stop it, or?
Yes.
do you need a
Yeah,
motion?
we need to do a motion in camera.
Sorry.
I didn't know if it was gonna be in regards to their stuff.
Oh, no, there's something to the agenda to, you know, have to get there.
Okay, so really,
With some observations. Comments.
so this.
Why do we
you know,
need
this
to
was
listen to
one-
comments today?
Well, this part may not be, we don't know how long this part's gonna take.
I understand it.
If there's a motion on the floor to go in camera, then we have to vote on it and.
Yeah.
It's up to
That's
the,
fine. Yeah.
it's up to the board to make a decision whether. we
No,
go
no,
in
no,
camera or not.
right.
Okay,
So-
first off, before you proceed, make a motion on camera. Seconder, okay, any opposed?
You're good to go.
With that, we actually now. vote on the motion. So we have a suggested motion on the floor for a increase each year based on the cost of living. Calculated using the consumer price index. During the first week of August, the executive will put the annual average CPI change from states of Canada from the previous year. Apply it for the next year. So, it's going to a vote. All four?
Sorry.
Okay, everyone. I have Elon, Joe, Jen, Robin, Aaron, Stephen, Amy, David, myself, any opposed? Wow. And the screenshot we saved from the smell, use the present voting file here. We have nothing for the executive committee update. Oh, wait, this is the other tab of this. Oh, okay, we're. I think we're on events.
So just, I'll keep it brief, but we had a networking session, our first one in Township of St. Enterprise Center, we hosted it at Giant Shoe, and we opened it to new businesses looking to branch out, and also obviously our members. Hosting it downtown in hopes that when they look for their brick and mortar, they think of us. And it was extremely successful, I think we had about 30 people come out. which is kind of our max, but really well received, everybody raved about it, so really excited to do another one. We have our bunny trail coming up on April 12th. I think we've got over 30 businesses signed up so far, and I've lost count of how many people have signed up, but it is very popular.
Is this looking like the candy trail from Halloween?
Yeah,
Is there any other changes, or is it the same concept? but
Smaller
different?
scale, yeah, same concept.
Is this something that you're gonna be thinking of closing the road as well?
No, not for this one, I mean.
Is
I
that
think
the
the
road
biggest
too,
thing
it's
is
like
how
a
it's-
safety, yeah.
It's not gonna be as big as Halloween, but we're requiring registration, so it's not a free for all, come and do whatever you want.
They have to be registered. Oh, okay, perfect.
All forward.
Well, yeah, we have a presenting sponsor, it's fantastic. You were gonna ask me that, and Kat,
Adapt Immigration Incorporated will be our presenting sponsor. Adapt Immigration, they're a downtown business, well,
that's great.
kind of, around the street.
yeah, that's okay,
So that's their name sponsor?
yeah.
Presenting
There's no
sponsor,
sponsor. How much does that cost?
by now it's
Yeah.
5,000.
Bye.
Yeah. So but it's the, like, that's hugely for who,
Yeah.
we've never had a presenting sponsor for that event, so, the presenting is the biggest one.
Who secured that one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just wanna add too, because I feel like Teresa, the executive director and founder of Adapt Immigration. She worked with us last year and the event was just so meaningful to her and the people that she works with, that it was like something that she's been thinking about all year, and it's really important for her to come on, and she looks forward to growing it with us. It's very impactful and we're very lucky to have them as a sponsor.
Super. Well done.
All right, I guess we can do the marketing update.
Okay, I have a presentation today. So I can figure out how to do it. It's gonna be really quick. I knew it would be a long day. So I just wanted to give a quick update on the tourism partnership with Niagara grant that we've been working on since fall of last year. I haven't had this isn't an official report, it's just a check-in. We had our very first information on how it's going, so just wanted to give you a snapshot, because I know that this is with thanks to the SCDA. So as a reminder, we did a grant request to try and reach the traffic that was going by the QW and perhaps not seeing the downtown, because when we put downtown in front of people, they build awareness of what exists on our beautiful core. So the objective of the grant is to increase awareness of foot traffic and bring people into the downtown core. And the three main target markets for this campaign are commuters, tourists, and local explorers. I can get more detailed in future reports, but just use your imagination today. For the campaign components, it consists of a video. The video is 60 seconds. It's broken up across different channels for different timelines. There's also a physical brochure, which is all around the table. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, please do. All thanks to Giant Shoe, who won the RFP. And then we have a landing page where we're driving people to, we're starting a social media influencer partnership, and we also created the TPN working group, which some of you guys are sitting on, so thank you so much for helping make everything come true. And just as the rollout happened, it was on February 27th, there was a few technical difficulties, so it was March 5th when everything was officially up. So again, the data is very fresh, it hasn't even been a full month yet. There was also the brochure distribution, which went through to the state, so we're really aiming at our border towns. And it went through to all of the Ontario service centers, so as far as like Sault Ste. Marie and locally, of course, and then it's within all of our local stakeholders as well. It was really fun dropping off the brochure, just getting to learn about how people travel to downtown from the States, and a lot of people had not heard of us at all, but they frequently come to Niagara on the Lake for a Shaw Festival, then they go to the outlets after, and they're always looking for a dinner spot. So it's been really good building relationships and getting intel and just knowing how we can continue to market to our American friends. Obviously, when things start to look a little bit better, because it has been affecting the tourism with everything going on in the States right now. So these are our first look at the results. We've had extremely high engagement and a very far reach. Our biggest reach has been to Toronto, which I don't think is a bad thing, because but right now with the tourism coming in from Buffalo, it's what we're looking to continue to aim towards our Toronto friends. We've had 1.3 million people see the video, and an incredible 80% of those people have watched the video from front to end, which if anyone knows anything about marketing, that is not common. So that's a lot of investment, just what is this city, what am I looking at, and following to the end. 3,000 people have clicked through afterwards to our website. So right now, our campaign is really focused on building awareness because we're reaching people that probably haven't heard of or seen downtown St. Catharines. They're thinking of Niagara Falls when they think of Niagara. So really, when it comes to making a really impactful marketing campaign, you want to build that awareness, make sure you put downtown in front of people. And the second part of our campaign is going to be to try and get them to click through.
Just one quick question, I want Niagara Falls, New York or Niagara Falls, Canada?
That is Niagara Falls, Ontario, but it bleeds over to the border a little bit.
Okay.
And then just for the next steps, and again, this is just a quick snapshot. So right now we're focusing on building awareness, getting that video in front of as many people as we can, which is incredible that they're looking and watching it. And then for the next part of the campaign, which runs all the way to the end of May, we're going to focus on increasing clicks and more engagements. We're also bringing on a social media influencer. We're going to be working with a product influencer that should be happening soon. I'm really excited for that. I can't release who it's going to be, but you might have heard of them. And then just continued analysis so I can let you guys know how it's performing into the end of May. And we're also going to be pairing it with a localized event campaign. So we're going to be launching all of the events happening downtown locally so that people know what's coming on. They can start making their summer plans, and we can do call outs for vendors, performers, etc. And we're going to be keeping it in line with the campaign that we're currently rolling out so that when people do come to downtown St. Catharines, we can continue that engagement with them. That's it.
That's spectacular.
Oh, results, yes. Could I request that, I may have to move early, that we jump to item one, have a discussion on that. Then we carry on later. Let's see, we have financials, advocacy, the report. I have no specific objections, so she gets one for you. Good thoughts? Go for it. Actually, before I just finish off, Kat, do you have something to say about the student presentation?
Oh, we worked with Niagara College, we presented them the exact same grant scenario, and we asked them to, because it's a research program, and we asked them to utilize research to see how they would have recommended using the grant dollars. They worked on it for 2 terms, so a full year, and they're gonna be presenting it on April 8th at the Noddle campus in Niagara, for Niagara College. They always appreciate having a panel of people to watch it. So if you're interested in joining me, it's 1:30 to 4:30. It's a Tuesday. They're actually super fun. And the students are just so interesting. So
And what is it, I'm sorry?
it's a presentation on what a Niagara College class, like an entire international business class, how they would have used the grant dollars based on a year's worth of research that they did into the US.
What day? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Tuesday, April 8th, 1:30 to 4:30. It is lengthy, but well worth it.
If we can't say it, can you give us, or can you give us a synopsis of it?
Yeah, of course.
And this is on the college?
Yeah.
Well, on campus?
This is the Niagara Lake.
Nice.
Which arguably is better.
Okay. Alright, then we're gonna be temporary passing on financial streetscapes, just having it anyway, what does actually. Financial streetscapes and advocacy, and then we'll go to Coaching Heritage. Okay, Rachel, commissions.
Yeah, so we just put it in there, so there's a public information session on March 26th, 5:30, and refer to receive the reviews or the report documents by the consultants with the Forest and Heritage. The report is available online, encourage everybody to review and if able to please join. The report is very lengthy, they're not expecting everybody to have read the full thing. The consultants will basically be presenting it, so it is a good opportunity for you to get, if you don't want to read the lengthy report, to get a summary of what is.
So this is gonna be done in the information session, for the opening of the dialogue, so the timer is just gonna be a presentation.
No, I think there will be room for questions.
Stated there will be questions and answers. Stated that. But I may make a comment. I'm offended with the attitude, the city's attitude, sorry about it. This report was supposed to come out in January. It came out last week. And for the consultants and heritage people in the city to think that somebody on an issue as important as this can read 258 pages and comprehend it, I find offensive to have a meeting 8 days later. I had requested a delay till April 8th, 9th, sometime in April. This board, if you remember, has voted against it. The Niagara Chamber of Commerce has voted against it. This is very, very contentious. And for them to proceed in 8 days with that report, I started reading on the weekend. My eyes were blurry. And I won't get into the pros and cons because that's not fair at this time, but it is so prejudiced, slanted, and opinionated towards the heritage district. Entire heritage district. I find it offensive, the way it's been presented. And I wish the city would have reconsidered delaying that. There are a lot of people that can't read the whole thing in 8 days. There are inaccuracies that I found in it. Again, this is not the place to bring it out. There are some gross inaccuracies. The greatest of which, people that were asked to participate in the survey weren't allowed to get in. And even James Nielsen said to me that, yes, we screwed up, but there were people who couldn't get into it. So I don't know if we go on record or it's just my opinion right now that I think that this meeting should be delayed so people can understand and comprehend exactly what's in it.
So just to follow up on that, I have connected with the city staff and they are looking at April 9th at 2 p.m. to meet with the board, and obviously that would be an open meeting, so I'll remember to as well. So the consultants will come back at that date and meet with us, so you guys know.
I might be misreading this totally, David, but I think the idea of having this might be to present it in a way for folks who are never gonna have the time to do it. That they can actually get a grasp of what's going on. That's kind of what I got out of that for the public information thing, is that this is a presentation for, especially for folks, it's not an end to dialogue, this isn't your only chance.
Well, for a lot of people, excuse me, it is an end. It is an end, and it's gonna be the destruction of downtown. It's taking the whole downtown.
I'm not talking about the substance, I'm not talking about the content. I think that this was a presentation so that for people who couldn't take the time to read the whole thing, this is a presentation.
I don't want their opinion. I want people to be able to read it, understand it, and comprehend it. And when they're presenting it, it's prejudiced and slanted one way. And that's why I have that.
Here's a question, Robin. What is the process? So.
The process for
like, let's see, the Heritage Board, they've done this, they released the report, there is this information session coming up on the 26th.
Yep.
What is the process after that?
So the process after that is, I don't actually have a date for when it will be coming to council. Sorry, when?
May 12th.
May 12th, perfect.
Now you
See,
do.
they don't tell us anything. So there will be, obviously, there will be a public meeting at that point. Council, we have been told that we have the report. I can only go by what previous districts, how that process works, which I've been involved in too. So the decision, we have the public meetings, staff will be doing additional outreach as they always do. When it comes to these sorts of things, they'll meet with the board, they'll meet with, there's the conservation or the study group is meeting on Thursday, I believe, which has residents and business owners on that committee. That will be happening
there'll be additional public outreach. I'm sure something will go on HSTC as it always seems to, and then there will be the public meeting on April or May 12th.
Yep.
At which we receive delegations and council makes a decision. Depend,
So you make the decision as well.
yeah, we will make the decision as well. Potentially, we may not, we could refer it back, who knows what's gonna happen, I have no idea at that point.
Okay, so,
And then, depending on how it goes, then there is an appeal period of 90 days, anybody who has spoken, or 30, okay, 30. Listen, the province changes the rules every other day, so. Then there's an appeal period, if no appeals are made, then whatever the decision is, that's the final decision. I will just say, I would strongly recommend, regardless of whether you're for or against, is that you actually come and delegate to council.
On
no
May 12th?
question. On May 12th, yeah,
So the meetings are April 9th and May 12th.
so April for us,
April 9th for us.
And
there's
got
the
it.
public meeting,
And then the
there's a
public
public meeting, we have a committee that is looking at it, that is made up of residents. That is open to the public, if you wanna listen to what the committee is gonna say, you can contact James Nielsen. Yeah, then there probably will be additional public outreach, the plan is on the C website, I think it's on Engage STC. And then council will hear the report and hear delegations, and then we'll make a decision from there.
do you have any other board members' questions before I move to Mark? All right, Mark, you want point?
I mark that, he's not gonna be calling, me. Let's go on to David, okay? This is a report. 52 property owners made this report. Okay, how can they have had that time to review this report fairly before having their properties reduce in value, insurance pricing going up, which I'm gonna give you an example of that right now as we speak, with a certain business owner, okay? And then they put a meeting on the same night as a candidates debate in Port Elizabeth for a by-election, okay?
So I'm sorry, I'm just gonna stop right there. The city has nothing to do with the candidates debate. The city has nothing to do with that. That was set up by the Port Elizabeth Conservancy.
Okay,
So
that's
please
fine.
don't infer that the city did anything.
I was not,
nefarious.
I was not referring to the city.
Thank you, Robin. Mark,
I was not referring to the city, okay?
keep that.
Okay. So, are those counselors in the American candidates debate, or are they gonna be at this information center? That's what I really, where's more concerned is this information center, okay? Certain gentlemen sent me some emails, which I push back from holidays now, got letters from an insurance company, they want a $4,000 to $5,000 cost analysis report, because his name's on it, his property's on a list. He referred it to Lauren Walker, and she said, contact the Insurance Bureau of Canada. Why should property owner have to go through that chaos? Because to fight this, and then his property, his insurance element, okay, this should not have to be, okay? You are gonna, if this is gonna switch the full marketability of downtown and investment, people, not gonna be able to sell the properties.
You'll be able to make that point.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it up now.
All right.
I think we've already voted against this.
Yeah,
We'll do that in our delegations.
Is that the only point you have there? Okay, so we have already as a board voted against this so far. We do have an information session for ourselves on the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay, and like the board's position is still quite clear. If it doesn't advantage downtown, we're not. After this, is there anything else on this issue from the board members before I go to other topics? Or on your last.
So
Oh, sorry, Stephen.
my only concern, and I don't, it's not really a concern, that when people go to the PIC, please, when you go, if you're making any comments, differentiate yourself from the board. Speak as an individual, not as a member of this board.
Good point, Steven.
Very good point, Stephen.
Good point.
Very good.
Especially issues that come up in governance.
All right, in that case,
Or hand.
all right.
If I can just ask Rachel to make sure that she sends Is it, should send out an email to the people for the meeting tomorrow?
Send.
Okay, but not diluted, just,
This morning.
okay. And they get a chance to see it.
That's important. Before we move on, is anybody planning to attend the March 26th?
Yeah.
Okay, so feels good. All right.
I'll be there.
So you will be there on the 9th. Yeah. All right, in that case, I need updated financials.
So it's really written on the agenda, so if there are any questions, I can answer any questions that we may have. That was meant to be done.
No. Do you feel anything specifically not close to what you?
Everything's already been written, so I don't need to repeat. If we don't read.
You didn't do anything. All right.
Then maintenance report, I was just going through other meetings, I guess. So Noah's been working really hard, he's working, with valves, getting some of those utility boxes fixed. There was a report late from the agenda, so I'm again, just really brief. He's working currently on the post boxes as well. We have a meeting with the region this week, I believe, to talk about their utility boxes and hoping to get that, they're pretty rough. And we are planning a big cleanup on Earth Day, April 22nd. So stay tuned for that if you're able to come out and help or even by the volunteers. Last year, we literally had to turn volunteers away because so many people left. So, and lots of.
Same territory or just?
We always do that. Always.
I did have a question on, you mentioned the post boxes. Was there resistance from?
They're just a little hard to pin down. They'll say they fix it, and they don't fix it.
So yeah, you submit a ticket, they say it's fixed, you look at it, it's not fixed.
Yeah, fix it.
22nd, the time is it?
I don't reply, I believe it's early afternoon.
So I'm sure the volunteer basis. I don't know what that would be. The bridge between myself and all figure, I don't keep all of that like once a year, including all that tree line down, it seems to be. But
We did that last year, it was,
it's for-
people, somebody found money there, though, so they were very happy.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so for advocacy,
So, big kudos to Kat, who delegated to.
well done. Yeah. You're becoming a star.
We were on AM 610, and last week I met with MPP Usterhoff, really pushing for changes to recycling, so there we go. It's good.
So what kind of reaction or anything did you get from this week's?
He did not want to fork over any money. I basically said, okay, then it just allow co-mingling. Because that's the big issue right now, is the trucks cannot be used for both commercial and residential pickup, only residential. So the region would have to pay for a different provider to come through, right behind that truck and pick up the recycling from the businesses. Doesn't make any sense.
And how do they understand, because the residence is here, how would they know the difference?
Great question.
Well, congratulations, all businesses, you're all residents.
Yeah.
Sleep on your floor one night, one night a year.
Exactly. We can reserve services out, and if it's not being able to do it, I encourage you to do so. We have a number of different tariff resources we are sharing with our members, just to keep them in the loop with everything that's going on, and the resources that are available. We have a shop local campaign underway from the tariff reserve, survey we received. Overwhelmingly, what people wanted support-wise was encouraged to shop local. So through really CAD, but through OBIA, the Ontario Family Association, they are launching an Ontario-wide shop local campaign that is going viral. So that's where you will have seen our logos change. So we've got around our logos that shop local, support Main Streets. So that's where that comes from. Anybody can use that. There is a toolkit that's available if you want to flip it on your logo. That would be great. And then I recently delegated to council in support of 37 Ontario and the neighborhood investment.
Did you get, who you say, you get the detail on?
Amy's hand is up.
No, it was just kind of, I just had a question, because I know that we had talked in another meeting about grants for young retail to come into the downtown. In order to do a shop local campaign, I think we need more retail. It's a hard one, right? Cause a lot of the action kind of starts downtown around 5. And so that's kind of what we're seeing, so I would love to see like that campaign turn into something of a shop local of like bringing more retail, cause like if there's more retail, then other retail survives.
It's true, yeah, retail is very, for sure, so, yeah, there's more supports, we aren't a grant distributor though, so it brings people to us, we can advocate for them, we always do.
Like I know the Penn Center like does like cool calls, but I mean, I understand the sense that they're looking at the bigger people. Is there someone that we can like designate, like I would just love to see like. I mean, we all go to markets, we all go to these things, to see some of these people live down here, like just their retail. And maybe,
Yeah, good point, I mean, that's why where a lot of our events we bring in, sometimes, right, we have one of our events brought in a retail store, right, they were a vendor market at the event. So that
is like showcasing some of our spaces. You know what I mean, like just having like a vendor market in the sense of anyone that's actually interested, to show them some spaces that are actually available, so they can maybe visualize.
yeah,
That's even in the run.
So the point Amy's making is, I think it's a very interesting point. So I'm wondering, does the board understand what the strategy might be to attract retail? And what our role might be in a strategy to attract retail?
I would love to be involved if there's any,
Because
trying to get people down here.
in a previous life, I was involved in the same kind of issue where we identified the kind of retail downtown is specialty retail. That's what it's become. Shoe store, the shops over by you, you know, those are specialty retailers, shops over by you. Identify some specialty retail that isn't in downtown. And then go to other communities where there are those kind of retail stores. And talk to them about, oh, are you interested in expanding? Are you interested in going somewhere? So, but that's a strategy and it needs energy or time. So it's that kind of, all I'm wondering about is how we understand that. That's all.
Strategize to see what we feel is good down here, and then you see stuff, and then even talk to these people to say, how can we bring your rent down for a little bit, how can we do this, so it's a helping man to negotiate, because really what we need is people down here for businesses like us to even survive. Right, because we're not so much always just even a destination, because I have a destination spot, do you know what I mean, so I'm saying there's a lot of people like that need. You know, we had a clothing store across the street from us at one point, it was a beautiful relationship, right? And so just to bring that down and just showing, because some of these people don't know the spaces that are down here that are so gorgeous to rent.
I think sometimes, the first step will be finding those spaces, right?
Yeah.
And I think the buy-in from the property owners, because while it may look like there's a lot of vacancy, getting in touch with the property owners is big challenge, I'll be honest with you. And my preference, whenever I hear someone looking for a space, is to literally take them on a tour individually, say, well, this space, this space, this space. And I will be very honest and say, this is your safest landlord.
That's what got me down.
Yeah.
That's walking me around.
Landlords make or break
Having local. I'm big on that, so if you ever need any like, I would love to talk to you.
And one, just basically looking at my stories that have a lot of Canadians, that's always a big one, it's never been just because of their great now. I'm a proud Canadian market, I love the country for so many reasons, so. Like our leases, for example, they're all made in Canada, and they've been, part of our business for almost 50 years now, and I will never quit no matter what. And some of the things that I buy was, my philosophy was always buying Canadian first, American second, Europe third. But now that's shifted because of different things that are going on. And so our products are coming, and the rolls first. Sure. Okay, so they're buying stuff, or the stuff from England, or stuff from thing, you know, so those are a few areas to deal with, and that's what we're doing. So, but anyway, make long story short, I think that we should promote Canada. Like, I always got a Canadian bike in my store and in my window all the time. So promoting Canadian products, pushing it, and also trying to get those specialty stores, like Stephen was saying. I have knocked on doors when I do it in different towns, and say, hey, would you consider Central Beach, downtown Seattle, just take the drive-through. Just make the drive-through, and you can see what's going on, especially if it's a game night or if there is actually a performing arts center. Event, then we get, here we go, you know, we have people that are in there downtown, but some days, if somebody comes downtown, it's very quiet. And it's embarrassing if somebody wants to open up a business and you're standing there, you're like, there's nothing happening in the end of the day.
Everyone's 1 o'clock, so executive director update, anything, we got.
Yeah, you're good, there's a link there, we good.
All right, motion, accept reports as presented. You don't want
Now, John.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Here's 6.
Joe.
So,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, sorry about it.
We have 1.
I second.
I'm done.
We need to actually vote.
No. All right, can I, sorry, who's first then?
You moved it.
I moved it.
I
Second,
seconded it.
any opposed?